is a free service designed to broadcast daily news and information to the blind and visually impaired. Joining me in studio today to talk about all the great work that RTB does is Stevie Ray, who volunteers for the service. Stevie, how's it going, brother?
Good afternoon.
How you doing today?
I'm good. It's a sunny day, and I'm not sweating.
Right. Fall came quick,
Yes.
man.
Oh.
It really did. For the people out there that don't know, I gave a brief little synopsis there, but what is Radio Talking Book?
Oh, man, I'll try to make this brief.
No, go as long as you want.
It is a program that was invented in Minnesota in 1969.
Wow.
By a gentleman who realized that there was no access to reading material for people who were blind or visually impaired. So he created a program where, first of all, if you were blind, you got a little radio, and it looked like about the size of a tissue box. And it had only one frequency that broadcast the books. So the only knob on it was volume, on, off, and volume. When you turned it on, somebody's broadcasting a book. And it grew into 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, something's being broadcast.
Wow.
Only people who get this device, it's no longer a little radio, kind of looks like a cell phone. You can put earbuds on or whatever, but you have to get it. And none of us who have cars in our radios in our cars are going to hear this frequency. So it's proprietary. But you get a catalog if you're a citizen who is blind or visually impaired that says, here is a list of books that we're broadcasting right now. If you want this one, it's every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and you get 1 hour at a time. So if you want to hear the whole book, you got to tune in every Tuesday at 1 o'clock for maybe the next 12 weeks or the next 20 weeks or whatever, till the book's done. And it grew and grew and grew, and then eventually the state took it over. So it's run by the Minnesota State Services for the Blind. It is the first of its kind in the world.
In the whole world?
In the whole world.
Wow.
Right here in Minnesota, they invented it. Now it's being copied by state services for the blind all over the country and the world. They use volunteers like myself. Minnesota has hundreds of volunteers who record books, fiction, nonfiction. There's a separate division for textbooks for students, that kind of thing. So anything you want to hear, it will probably be recorded. So it's not a book on tape you can check out at the library. It sits at the state services on digital format after we record it, and they've got it.
That's incredible. And
Yeah.
I kind of love that it's almost capturing like the old-timey essence of radio when you would go tune in to hear Muhammad
Exactly.
Ali and Joe Frazier fight or
Yeah.
maybe the latest Sam Spade mystery or something along those lines. You gave a brief little list there of things that are read, but what kind of is like the full gamut of different things that are read?
When you get the full catalog, they're very intentional at the state services for the blind about putting books at a time of day where that audience might be most interested. So in the morning, you might get books that younger folks want to hear before they're on their way to school. In the afternoon, it might be the stay-at-home folks get their kind of books, novels and things like that. In the evening, it'll be almost all adult books, whether it's fiction or nonfiction. They also have live broadcasts like of the Star Tribune and Pioneer Press every day. They'll read live,
Wow.
which is a little more difficult because
Yeah.
you can't correct yourself. When I record, I have a recording computer at my home that's basically owned by the state. And as I'm recording, I got that screen in front of me, that digital readout. Well, if I stumble over a word, I hit the little stop button on the screen, and then I move back to a blank spot where maybe I took a pause, and I start over again. So you don't have to be perfect when you read, but the result has to be perfect. So all of the books that are recorded are of like professional quality because we get to record over our mistakes, unlike folks like you.
Right,
who,
yeah.
Like everything you say is out there.
Yeah, there's no taking it back. There's no
No.
putting the toothpaste back
I
in
have
the tube.
re-recorded the same sentence 15 times.
Yeah.
Because I hit that one word
Oh,
and we're talking
isn't that the
about
worst?
pronunciation.
Yeah.
I read a book, for instance, that was a thick book about, I choose nonfiction. I want to learn while I do this.
Right.
This was about World War II. Here's a hint. Never choose a book written by a historian.
Yeah, they are
You're going to
dense.
get everything
They are
you never
dense.
wanted to know.
Yeah.
So, but there were, because it was about World War II, there were words from France, Germany, Poland, Russian words, Arabic words, and so I'm running across these words I've never seen before. You got to pause. You go on Google Pronounce,
Right.
where it tells you how to pronounce the word, but you might stumble over it 4 or 5 times till you get it exactly right.
Yeah. That's giving me PTSD. Just working in radio for most of my
You
life.
know what it's like.
Yeah, to hear that one word where you just like you start hearing it a certain way, and you're just like, oh my god, and it doesn't even sound like a word.
No.
By the 7th, 8th time that you're recording.
I had one book called Tales from Pajuhu Tazizi.
Ooh.
And it was Ojibwe stories. And I thought, oh, I love cultures.
Yeah.
And native cultures especially. And the problem is there is no Google Pronounce
Right.
for Ojibwe.
Yeah.
There is no Ojibwe language tutorial anywhere. I searched and searched and searched. I found the Ojibwe alphabet.
Oh.
Well, they have 41 letters
41.
to our 26 because the letter H has 3 different pronunciations.
Interesting.
Whether it's ha, like high, or ha, like, the Jewish l'chaim,
Yeah.
or ha, like that.
Right.
And the little thing over the letter tells you which one it is. I finally found one video of a YouTube thing where one guy teaching at the University of Minnesota was going through the alphabet. And it was a video like he had a white dry erase board behind him.
Yeah.
And he was using a yardstick for his pointer. And he's going through each of the letters going ha, ha, he, ha. And that's as close as I could get. And the good thing for me is he said, there are a lot of different ways to pronounce this, and everybody has their own way.
Yeah,
I
thank
thought,
God.
I'm good.
Right. I'm good.
I've got my own pronunciation.
That's enough leeway for me to get away with this.
Looking for that space in there.
So that kind of leads me to my next question. What is kind of that process like for you when you sit down to go record something? Do you get to choose what type of books that you're reading? What are you given a book assigned? What is kind of your creative process? How much leeway are you given with how you read the book? Are you doing
Those are good questions.
voices and stuff like that? But what is the scope of that process like?
Well, the first thing you have to do to even do this is you have to audition because they don't accept every volunteer.
Interesting.
Yes. In fact, they only accept a third of the people who even apply.
Wow.
Because
what made you want to apply, by the way?
I thought everybody has a voice and everybody should use that voice for something positive. So I thought, why don't I use my voice for people who can't read?
Right.
Unless it's Braille, of course, which is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes Braille works. Sometimes it's just not what you're looking for. And so when you apply, you are put in a recording booth. They have a center in St. Paul for the blind, services for the blind, and they have multiple recording booths. They're kind of like small closets. And to audition, you're given things to record that are prose, poetry, news, fiction, nonfiction, 50 medical terms, 50 legal terms, because there you have Latin and other languages.
Yeah.
And basically what they're looking for is to see, do you know you made a mistake? So if you stumble over a word, you do it again, and they say, okay, this person is self-aware enough that we can put them in this position. But then they give it to a blind auditor who will listen for listenability. Do you have good inflection, diction, pronunciation? The rate of speech matters. Most blind people listen at a much faster rate than we do because this is their brain. It picks up everything auditory. So they will sometimes play something at 1.5 to 2 times its speed.
Interesting.
Because they're going.
Yeah.
They'll listen for mouth sounds, whether your tongue clicks when you make a sound, whether you turn the page too loudly. Those are distractions.
Right.
So you sit down, and when you start every recording, you have to start it with, this is Stevie Ray. Today we present the 22nd broadcast of Tales of Yesterday. And then you give a quick recap, and then you start the book. Every time you turn a page, you have to hit a button on the screen. So the listener knows that a page is being turned, or another couple of buttons for each chapter. So they are following as if reading it. When I get a book, I get a list. The state sends me a list, fiction, nonfiction. They choose from approved lists. The book has to have been published this year. So I can't call them up and say, hey, I found a book from 1962 I'd like to record.
Right.
Too late. It's got to be this year. It also has to appear on some list of an award-winning book. It doesn't have to be a New York Times bestseller, but it has to have won some kind of recognition.
Yeah.
So they know this is a quality book.
It's worthy of being read.
Worthy of being read. When I look through it, I will go to some online source, maybe Amazon or something else, and see a few sample pages of the book. I have to know that it sounds like something I could get into.
Right. Because that's important for you as creatively, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
I have to know that I can embody it. I did read a couple of fiction books. They said, we're really behind on the list. Would you be okay reading this one? One was a reinterpretation of Peter Pan. Well, it's more of a kid's book. So I thought, I'm going to bring the voices to life. So each character got a different voice. Well, it turned out to be dozens of characters.
Yeah.
So I had to get a digital recorder for myself to say, Tyree's voice. Hello, I think we should go on that island. It's like, okay, I'm going to remember that voice the next time it comes up.
Right.
And so I had to stop and stop and stop. Because I don't read fiction that often, I don't have to do it. They do not want you, for nonfiction, to characterize anything. They don't want you to use dialects to an excessive degree because that adds your interpretation. And the listener wants their interpretation. So you pretty much read straightforward as much as you can, but you do want to add life to it. So there's some kind of emphasis when there should be, and make it come to life for the listener.
Right. Trying to strike that balance between, like, creative and lively, but not necessarily editorial.
That is the best way to describe it right there.
That's incredible. I'm just hearing you break down that process. There's so many things I feel like people wouldn't have even thought of, like the page turning, like the tongue clicking, these things that obviously would stand out to someone where audio is the way that they perceive the world. I think a lot of us wouldn't have even thought of that goes into the process.
Never occurred to me until I got my first blind audit. I said, okay, here's things. And there was 14 different boxes that the auditor filled in with pitch, inflection, what stood out, what was a distraction, that kind of thing. And you take that as good feedback. So I got to tell you, I thought I had good diction before.
Yeah.
Now, because you spend an hour at a time doing this, it's pretty tiring.
For sure.
When you read, you just read. But when you put voice to it, you have to make sure that you are giving it what it needs to have. And then you come across a word that I stumbled over some words 15 times.
Yeah.
And you go back and, if it could record the number of times I swore into the microphone, what? Can't I just replace this with a synonym? Well, there is none.
That is all too relatable, Stevie. All too relatable as someone that
For what you do.
Exactly. It's I 100% feel you. How can people access this service? Because I read now that it's available via stuff like Alexa.
It's something you want to contact the State Services for the Blind of Minnesota, or of course, whatever state you live in. If you are a person who's suffering from visual impairment of any kind, let them know, and then they set you up. They'll take care of you from there and say, here are the different means you can access this. Because they are getting currently published books, they get special permission to do this from the author and the publisher.
I was going to ask about that. Like, how does that process work?
So, they go through the whole process. And part of what we read at the beginning of every new book is any distribution in a format other than this specialized format is an infringement of the copyright. So somebody can't, that's why nobody can take this and give it to anybody. That's why it's broadcast, not checked out. You don't get to take a thumb drive home,
right,
or anything like that.
And I'm assuming it's not podcastable either for that same reason.
It can't be given away freely. Once the broadcast is done, they hold the recording at the state, and they can rebroadcast it, but only in this specialized format. and only over the airwaves. So people can access it. But like I said before, you get a catalog and it'll say, here's the book. Here's a short little paragraph synopsis of what the book's about, read by so-and-so. Because people who like to have books on tape in their car, they end up sometimes getting a favorite reader. And they say, oh, yeah, I know this person's voice. I kind of like them. So I'm going to follow them just as much as the author.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
is that something that people, do you ever hear feedback from people? Like,
No.
they can't like request, like, I want Stevie to read this and that,
I've
this book or
heard-
that book?
I've gotten feedback from the auditors who tell me about the quality of my reading. At Stevie Ray's Comedy Cabaret, my company, because I was for so many years involved in this program, I've been reading now for about 15 years, I think.
Wow.
We decided, I thought, let's do a comedy show for the blind.
Oh, cool.
Because,
yeah.
you know, it's not something that's common. When you are visually impaired and you go to a play, you have a headset, and there's an audio descriptor who will sit there and say, the butler is now crossing the room to pick up a newspaper. So any action is visual.
Yeah.
You get described. And I thought, let's have a show that doesn't need that. So we put together an improv show that has no visual quality to it whatsoever. It's all verbal. And if anybody's ever bought a comedy album, it's the same thing. It's all
Right.
verbal. So we specially designed it just for the blind and visually impaired audience. And their sighted guests enjoyed it just as much because it's comedy. It's funny.
Right.
So I got comments from some of those folks who came up afterwards and said, I've listened to some of your books on Radio Talking Book, and I really like it. Thanks for doing it.
Oh, that's got to be
That's
so
a-
awesome.
Oh, yeah, that's the best thing you're going to hear. It
Right.
is the best to know that you've been able to do something that, you know, helps people who might not have the advantage the rest of us have.
Yeah. And I haven't heard you read one of these books, but I can just tell the passion and energy
Yeah.
and love that you bring to the work that you do. So I really appreciate you for joining us today in studio, Stevie. Where can people learn more about Radio Talking Book or learn more about you and the things you're doing over at the Comedy Corner?
Well, they can go to stevierays.org to hear about Stevie Ray's Improv Company. And anyone who wants to volunteer as a reader, whether it's live or recording, just Google search Minnesota State Services for the Blind or State Services for the Blind of Minnesota. That'll get you to where you go. And they are always looking for volunteers. And it's beneficial for the people who do it as well.
Yeah.
I have learned so I'm much more smarter now. I'm gooder at the smart things than I used to have been before today, yesterday.
So